Are you a little burnt out on Halloween too? I know I am. So why don't we have a fun little day? I'm getting ready to go to Scarefest, by the way. Let's do a fun little video and talk about the Friday the 13th franchise. My second favorite. Obviously, Nightmare is my favorite, but I like to do Friday stuff right before Nightmare stuff. So with that being said, we've got the tier list. I've been seeing bigger YouTubers do this kind of thing, and it looks really fun. And we've done this with ranking the masks of the franchise on the podcast. Check those episodes out. But, like, I really want to do this because, as you know... Let me take my glasses off now. As you know, it's like with this series, your mind kind of changes every day. And you get different feelings and different vibes from these movies, which is amazing. Because, I mean, for movies that we've seen a bunch, it's crazy how they can just change in your perception a little bit. So, we've got the grade scale. As you can see, we've got perfect... A grade, B grade, C grade, and D grade. I highly doubt anything's getting D grade. I love this franchise. I can find so much entertainment out of all of it. But I'm going to go for this with a keen perspective on quality and just entertainment value and stuff like that. So why don't we just get ahead right into it? So I'm going to try not to use the perfect scale too much. I'm really not going to try to overuse that. So without further ado, let's go to the original Friday the 13th. Now, where is Friday the 13th going to go? Gut answer, right off the top, is perfect. And I know, we're starting right there. But the thing is this. I think this is my favorite Friday the 13th movie now. I really do, which is going to sound bizarre because it's not Jason in a sense. Or it's not. It's Pamela's movie. But this movie is so spooky. I love it. I'm going to, how about this? At the end of this, I'll allow myself one movement, too. I want to move anything. I feel good putting Friday the 13th in A grade, even though I want to go perfect right now. So, going to put Friday the 13th, the original, in A grade. It really is such a spooky, good movie. Let's go to Friday the 13th, Part 2. So, where am I going to put Part 2? You know, you got Steve Miner coming in. Great director. Under Sean's vision, too. And Part 2 honestly feels a lot like Part 1. I think it's actually the only entry that ever actually felt like Part 1 again after Sean's movie. I think the cast is just as good, and I think the cast is in some ways better, if I'm being honest. But I have a few minor gripes with not necessarily the pace of the movie, but wanting more from different characters than we got. I'm going to keep Friday the 13th Part 2 in A grade as well. So I think this franchise starts out on the right foot. Next, Friday the 13th Part 3. A lot of people absolutely love this movie. I'm a big fan of Part 3. I think the first two movies are better than Part 3. So I'm actually going to take Friday the 13th Part 3 and put that in grade B. But I like to watch Part 3 as much as Part 1 or Part 2. It's weird. It's like some of them... You guys might have heard me say, the more I love a movie, if it's like something I really love, I try not to watch it too much to make it stay special. But I feel good having Part 3 at B grade. But that doesn't mean it's a B grade film. It's just the grade B. So it's a B+. We'll put it as B+. And we've got Friday the 13th, the final chapter. This is like the best slasher film ever made to me. I gotta put the final chapter at perfect. Oh, man. So we've got Final Chapter at perfect, and I feel like I have to have that one there because it really is, like, the greatest ever. Love the Final Chapter. I love everything about the Final Chapter. We just lost Ted White, by the way. Rest in peace to Ted. He was in his, like, mid-90s, so he had a really good run. But it still doesn't make it any better when you lose a legend like that. I had the pleasure of meeting Ted, and he was truly a nice, remarkable human being. So I love Ted. He comes from a generation that is long gone from this world now. Tough guys, you know. So Ted was awesome. Really, really loved Ted. Glad I got to meet him. He's my favorite Jason some days. And then other days it's Kane, you know. When we get to the latter entries, guys, I'm going to surprise you because I've got some strong feelings about certain ones, and, you know, we'll get there. But let's go next. Friday the 13th, Part 5, the final chapter. A New Beginning, rather, not the final chapter. Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. Where is that going to go? Let's see. Let's break this down. Friday the 13th, 5 took a risk. and I always give brownie points for that. I think it's stuck to being in the same vein of the first movie in a sense, where it's really a mystery. You don't really know who the killer is at all, because the hints that they give, the quote-unquote hints that they give, they're really not much, really. I certainly didn't think it was Roy or anything in particular in the beginning. I thought it was Jason. I really did. But I'm also not the most astute viewer of movies either. I think it's extremely gory, which is great. I think it's extremely graphic, which is great, because it was made by a porn director who knew what he was doing. I have to give self-awareness bonus points too. I am putting Part 5 in grade A. Part 5 is going in grade A. Next is Friday the 13th, Part 6. This film has really just becoming part of my DNA in a sense. Absolutely love Part 6. Love everything about it, from the soundtrack with Alice Cooper to CJ Graham, who's actually really good. CJ's great, but I'm really glad that CJ didn't return. You know what I mean? I know that sounds weird, because it really solidifies that movie for him, you know? And I'm glad Kane took over. I'm actually going to put Part 6 in perfect. I really am. I love Part 6. I love everything about it. I think it's so funny. I think it really has great characters. It's just extremely entertaining. I love Part 6, and I know you watching this probably do too. Most people love Part 6, and a lot of people, that's their favorite one, and I think it's for good reason. And it also has the best opening scene to me out of the entire franchise. I gotta say that right off the bat. Part 6 to me has the greatest opening scene out of the entire franchise, and that's you can't get any better than that. So I'm actually going to put Part 6 in perfect. Next is Part 7. This is the one, it's not underrated. None of these films are underrated. These films have millions and millions of fans, but Part 7 is the one that I think is just, when you really assess the series and you watch it start to finish, I think Part 7 obliterates a lot of these films in a lot of ways. Jason from Kane Hodder is phenomenal in this movie. The characters in this one are actually really good. Like, they really are good. They really have a good array. You've got Bad News Cruz. I am putting Part 7 in A grade. Like, I just watched it again last night with the wife, and we were both like, this one's just so good. It really is. I know there's this thing like that we learned about in the documentary about Lark Park Lincoln and the guy like not having any chemistry. I thought they were cute, you know. I mean, what the hell, you know? Jason Takes Manhattan. So here's the thing. You guys know me just as well as anybody else that's a fan of this series. Jason Takes Manhattan is awesome. I freaking love Jason Takes Manhattan. Darkest Side of the Night's one of my favorite songs ever made. I mean, I love it. The problem with Jason Takes Manhattan, to me, is not the budget. It's not Vancouver. It's not the locations. It's none of that. My problem with Jason Takes Manhattan, and the reason it's going to get the score it gets, is because some of the problems with this film could have easily been fixed. For instance, the one scene where the boat captain gets his neck cut, piss poor. They could have done that better. I understand time was of the essence, but still, you gotta. There's always that expression. There's never enough time to do it right, but there's always enough time. There's never enough money to do it right, but there's always more money to do it again, or there's enough money to do it again. That kind of expression. So from that and just piss poor rushing things, I'm actually gonna give Jason Takes Manhattan a C. And I don't want to do that because I love it. But when you watch the film, you can't deny that there are small things that have nothing to do with the budget of the film in terms of getting locations and stuff like that. It's just little things that we should have stopped and made better. Like, for instance, when Rennie is by the window that Jason punches through, Rennie isn't close enough for Jason to reach and grab her neck. You see her back up a little bit. We can fix that. We could have fixed that. So that's why it gets a C. But I love you, Rob Hedden. You went for it. It is criminal that people... There's fans of this movie, obviously. There's millions of fans for all these films. Jason Goes to Hell is easily one of the most entertaining in the entire series. No question. And stop calling Halloween Ends the Jason Goes to Hell of the series. That's ridiculous. Jason Goes to Hell is way better than Halloween Ends. Don't even get me started. Jason Goes to Hell is going in a solid B grade B, and I'm happy about that. Jason Goes to Hell is superbly entertaining. It's hysterical. I mean, I love it so much. Okay, next is the most shocking one, Jason X. This movie, to me, the thing about Jason X is it's so acutely self-aware, hey, we're making a space movie. Once you get over that hump, and I get it, because when I was watching this film the first couple times too, I was like, what the hell is this? But I used to think it was a bad post-Scream movie. To me, it's not. To me, it's remotely not. To me, it's way more observant of itself than that. And they're really just leveraging into, look, this is a space movie. But some of the characters in this movie are hysterical. Like that old bastard that the ship captain calls in to tell him that he's got Jason, and he's laying in bed, and he's so annoyed. And I love that guy. Hysterical. I love basically the entire female cast of this film, too, I think is awesome. Jason X, I keep getting these names confused. Jason X is far and away one of the most entertaining in the series to me. No questions asked. I don't give a rat's ass today. I'm putting Jason X in A grade. Next is Freddy versus Jason. Now here's the thing, and guys, I know that I've got to get back on track on the story of Freddy versus Jason. I've gotten episode 3 written down. I've got to film it. That will happen. Promise you, guarantee you that's going to happen next week. Freddy vs. Jason Part 3, early for patrons. Most of my videos come out early for patrons. As I'm reading this book, guys, the story of Freddy vs. Jason, and if you guys have seen those 2 episodes that I've done, you'll understand too. As I'm reading this book, I realize Freddy vs. Jason is a much better film than a lot of the crap that was getting written and submitted. I think Freddy vs. Jason does more things right than not right. They have Freddy vs. Jason on screen for the majority of the film. They're heavily influenced in each scene. And based on some of the stuff I've saw that was written and submitted and scripts that were written, it could have been worse. And that's going to affect my rating of this film. It really is. Obviously, the biggest sin of this movie for me is Jason being afraid of water. I understand retconning some of these films and making Jason really like just as going back to bare minimum stuff like that, but him being clearly zombie Jason in this movie, if he would have been a human Jason, maybe we could have gotten there. Maybe. But the fact that they went complete zombie Jason on this and he's terrified of water, ridiculous. And I'm not blaming the writers necessarily on that, because they said that it wasn't, and I'll get to that in the book when we get there, but because of all that, guys, I'm actually going to put Freddy vs. Jason in C grade, but it's a C+, because there's still other things that could have been better. The best part about the movie, I think, really is the last act, where it's the Royal Rumble battle between the two. I think Freddy should have had a couple more kills in this. Quite frankly, although he's still the best character of this movie, Freddy is far and away the most entertaining character in the film, but he needed a little bit more still. I mean, Jason got presented fairly well, besides that one major gripe I have, but I think Freddy could have had a little bit more bloodshed in this film, which would have been great. Even the Kelly, the girl from Destiny's Child or something, she confronted Freddy, and Freddy should have taken her out in a glorious over-the-top death, yet Jason killed her. Stuff like that. I mean, so I'm going to give Freddy vs. Jason a C, but still, it could have been a lot worse. And the remake, the thing about the remake is it plays it safe in certain story aspects, but I think the first 15 minutes are insanely great, and I think it's the second best out of the series in terms of openings. I think Jason Lives is still the best, but the remake has a great opening. The cast in the middle is fine. I don't think they're bad. I don't think they're necessarily bland, but they are fairly stereotypical without weird niches onto themselves, right? So I'm actually going to put the remake in... This is tough. I'm going to put the remake in B. So, let's look over our list. As you can see, we've got in the perfect scale, we've got 4 and 6. In the A grade, we've got 1, 2, 5, 7, and Jason X. In the B grade, we have Friday the 13th, 3, Jason Goes to Hell, and the remake, and then the C grade we've got New York and Freddy vs. Jason. The only other change I want to make, guys, and I feel pretty comfortable about this, I am going to put the original in the perfect scale because I think it deserves it. The original really is such a great film. I mean, it was so spooky and atmospheric, and one of my favorite things about this, and I actually see this as a complaint on a lot of people's behalf, there's this scene where Adrienne King, Alice, is like in the cabin and she's just making coffee and she's just getting her stuff ready and she's doing stuff in the cabin, and it's like there's no dialogue right there, but to me it's just so great mood building. And I don't think Cunningham gets his credit in the pantheon of great horror directors. And if you haven't seen films he's done like Deep Star 6, you need to, because it's, to me, it's better than Leviathan from '89. I actually think Cunningham's a fabulous director when he wants to be. I mean, The New Kids is okay. I'm not a major fan of that film. I think there are better versions of that movie, like Class of 1984. But when it comes to stuff like this, I think Sean absolutely nailed the original Friday the 13th. So I feel good about putting that in perfect. So that is my tier grade, guys. If you want to play along, drop your comments below and give me your perfect A, B, C, and D grade and show me where you put yours in. I think that'd be really cool. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was a nice little Halloween break for you right now. We're going to do Freddy. We're going to do Freddy for this. This was fun because it gives me a chance to talk about the films in maybe a certain light I haven't done before. So thanks for watching this video, guys. Let me know your tier ranking below based off of this scale, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you to all my supporters on Patreon. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, and music, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month.